Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
That it got such, I don't know, that people didn't agree with it. The most important thing is the health of our students, the health of their extended family that they could bring COVID back to. I know everyone thinks that kids don't spread it, but they do. I've researched it. It makes me sad. It makes me really sad. And it makes me sad that it does seem like the health of the teachers and the staff is not important. So anyway, I just wanted to support the nurses. They're the healthcare workers. They know what's happening. And also, having not heard about the edited version of their letter that was sent back to them, just hearing that today for the first time, that sickens me. And I do want to support the resignation called for from whoever that board member was as well. That's completely not okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Anybody else?
I don't see anyone. What I do have is someone notified me in the chat that there was a letter sent to the board members from a middle school teacher that they want read. It was an email sent from a Bellows Falls middle school teacher to the board to be read tonight.
Okay.
George, I can bring it up if you need someone to bring it up. I also have the other one that needs to be read.
Right. So
Unless you've got it and want to read it.
Other than that, I don't have any other questions in Quay.
all right. So we're gonna have to locate that.
George, I can read Erica Bazawi's letter.
Okay.
Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome. I just want to.
Hang on before you do, Megan. Chris, is that the letter we're talking about?
I don't have a name to it. They just said Bellows Falls middle school teacher.
Okay, go ahead, Megan.
Okay, and just to let anybody know, they're in parent teacher conferences until 6 p.m. So she asked this letter to be read. Dear Rockingham School Board members, I am writing to ask you to please follow the advice of the WNESU nurses and to go remote following the holiday vacations. I'm basing my opinion on previous data showing the rise in COVID following holidays. After Memorial Day, July 4th, and Halloween, numerous states saw cases and deaths due to COVID increase. According to a Washington Post article, in Texas, COVID cases rose more than 36% by June 6th. But that's not Vermont, right? According to CBS Boston, an outbreak that began in Winooski on Memorial Day grew to 62 cases by June 8th. July 4th in California was full of cancellations of large-scale events, but due to gatherings of family and friends over the long weekend, they saw cases double, especially in more rural counties. And she's accrediting that to an article in USA Today. We all know that Halloween was a rough point for Vermont, despite the fact that the state encouraged children to trick or treat rather than attend Halloween parties. 3 parties around the state led to 72 cases on Wednesday, November 11th, and 109 cases Thursday, November 12th. The data is clear. COVID spikes follow holidays. You may say that the governor's new restrictions banning multifamily gatherings will protect us from this effect, but without a clear system of accountability to hold families responsible for following the restrictions, I do not believe that it will be followed. The issue was addressed in a November 22nd VT Digger article. I was talking to a friend from Montreal, and they are issuing fines for non-compliance. Currently, we do not have such a system in place, and our school staff is already stressed and working harder than ever this year. So I do not see policing restrictions as a feasible part of our school routine. We have many, at least 7, faculty that are over 60 or considered high risk due to health issues by that metric. I do not know the number of high-risk family members of our faculty, but I would wager that it's over 30. We also have several students who have underlying conditions that are also considered higher risk. We know that as a community transmission rates increase, so does transmission within the school. We also know that children's rate of being asymptomatic is higher than adults. Thankfully, the state is starting to test school employees, but they are not yet testing students. It is my opinion that if we want more in-person learning this year, it is in our best interest to learn from the data following holidays and anticipate an increase in cases statewide. By doing this, we will protect our employees and families and can also avoid cases in our schools, which could lead to non-anticipated remote learning periods that are more disruptive to our students' and parents' lives. And even more importantly, we will reduce the risk of losing the life of a fellow employee, loved student, or family member. Thank you for considering my opinion. Erica Bazawi, BFMS teacher.
Thank you for reading that, and thank you, Ms. Bazawi, if you're out there. Any other communications, public comments?
George,
Yeah,
I'd like to read the other letter we received. Hi, George. I'm writing to you today to let you know that there are a few teachers at our school, 4 that I know of, who do not agree with the letter and proposal from Mr. Pratt and the nurses about going remote for 1 week post-vacation and 1 week post-winter vacation. We Vermonters have been asked to remain within our border and not congregate in large groups or even mixed households. Because this is the expectation, I do not think we should give families the opportunity to travel knowing they have a 1 week bumper so they can travel does the opposite and doesn't hold them accountable and should expect that they will be in school on the Monday after Thanksgiving. Those who do travel can quarantine and will receive remote assignments. My biggest issue with going remote off and on is that I cannot, without completely relying on family guardians, expect my students to complete work independently. They need to be in person to have my prompting and support. It looks very different in K2 than 3, 4, or even middle school and high school. I think that people forget that and just lump us all together. My kids use lots and lots of materials, need the consistency of a daily routine to help them with their learning, and also need what limited socialization they get from being in school, socially distanced and masked up. The transition of in-person to remote, back to in-person, back to remote is very challenging for younger learners who thrive on consistency. I have anxiety just thinking about transitions and additional work needed to make those random remote weeks productive. We will also have no prep planning time within our contracted hours to get ready for a week of remote learning. Anyway, please don't share my name at the board meeting. My opinion is not popular among other staff at our schools, but if you speak to other board members, let them know that our teachers are in this district who are not traveling and who do not want to do remote learning as a precaution for those who break the rules. We have protocols set up in the schools to keep staff and students safe. Let's trust the hard work we've done so far and stay in school. Thank you for your consideration on this matter. Thanks.
thank you, Priscilla. Anybody else who, we got any more?
I have one comment I'm going to read, and then next up would be Jack Breyer.
Okay.
So this is in the chat from Raina Morin. I believe for this vacation, it is too short notice for parents to arrange for childcare or to be able to arrange time off from work. Kids need to be given as much in-school schooling as they can. The extra week is just going to encourage people to travel. So that was from Raina Morin. Next up is Jack Breyer.
Yeah, go ahead,
There
Jack.
we are. Hi there. I don't know if you or Chris read the note that I sent earlier that I'd offered as public comment.
No, it has not been read yet.
No.
Well, then maybe this is the time to do it because I'm going to add a little note to it. And this was a note I sent to Chris earlier today and to George, hoping that it'd be read into the notes. Now, as we were all struggling to find out the best approach to dealing with COVID issues, I thought it was important to share the effort that we're making to give our own medical staff, the RNs, access to the best advice they can. To that end, Dr. Keith Loud, who is a physician-in-chief of Children's Hospital at Dartmouth Medical Center and chief of staff at the pediatrics department, has agreed to be freely available to our nursing staff when it comes to medically related policy issues involving the current pandemic. I got to give credit to Kathleen for setting this up. I know from the discussions of the past week, it's been clear there's a lot of questions about how to respond to medical advice on medically related policy issues. And there's questions about whether our nurses, whether our medical professionals themselves have access to leading medical experts. Now, the details of this is still being worked out, but I do want to express my appreciation to Dr. Loud's offer of help and Chris Pratt's interest in taking him up on the offer. Dr. Loud, Dr. Michael Calderwood, who is the chief epidemiologist of CHAD and DHMC, are nationally respected figures whose advice is routinely sought out by Dr. Mark Levine of the Vermont Health Department and the UVM Medical Center, as well as nationally by the President-elect's task force on the coronavirus epidemic. Dr. Loud's been an important voice in the national debate on education policy and the present healthcare emergency. I'm humbled that he's willing to be available to our little community over the next several weeks and months as we address how to best provide a quality education to our young people and still address the safety and health concerns of our students, staff, and community. Now, he was not able to be here for tonight's discussion, but he certainly is available to our RNs when it comes to the Christmas holiday fire break, if that's what we're doing. I did want people to know that, but I do have some concerns about whether or not his advice or any advice is going to be considered sufficiently authoritative to persuade people to listen to it. This has been very hard because we've had a lot of references to experts and who's an expert, who's not an expert, and I'm not sure that people are willing to listen to it. I'm hoping they are. I'm hoping that if he begins to offer his advice, it will matter to people. I'm hoping that it does. I personally think that it would be a reasonable compromise for the Rockingham board to grant this fire break, this ability to split the coronavirus epidemic and give us a time break so that we can keep it under control over the Thanksgiving holiday. And if you want, have an open mind about the Christmas one, by which time you'll have advice and expertise from one of the leading figures in the United States on how to best address the issue. I know that both physicians are very much in favor of in-person instruction, but they're also in favor of fire breaks generally and of paying attention to local conditions. And it's the local conditions that I think matter the most here. And if I don't know where you are in the discussions tonight because I came in late, but I'm hoping that this will be something that you'll bear in mind as you deliberate. Thanks.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Public comment?
George, I got something.
That's all I have in public comment, George.
Okay, Jason, you got something from the public?
Yeah, this is a email I sent you guys, all the Rockingham board members, from a teacher at the middle school. And this person wrote me a note on Friday and said, I just want the kids to be in school. They also went on to say, WNESU with all remote, which has given the permission to travel, break the rules this week, and you can spend next 2 weeks quarantined. And then this person also said, we may not always agree, but I appreciate you on this point. So many people feel this way, but can't speak up. The last time I spoke up, I was called into the office. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Chris, anybody else? Are we wrapping up or are we still going?
No, I think that's it. No other comments.
Anybody else going once? Going twice? Thank you all very much. It's very appreciated. Whether it's something that individually we agree with or not, we appreciate hearing your opinions and comments, either by email or otherwise. So thank you guys for speaking up, tonight. And that said, moving on. I got out of order, so we already did policies, which there isn't any. So we're on to reports. Principal's report. Who would like to go for? I see Miss Kennedy's hand up. Miss Kennedy, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Good evening, everybody. And I just want to give some shout outs to all of Central staff, and I appreciate Mr. Hodson's good words. Our staff did take some time for Veterans Day to send some cards and letters with the students. They scaffolded some of the letter writing format for some of the students. It had been their first time writing an official letter or card, and just recognizing all the hard work that our veterans have done and given back. So it was nice to have the reception being heard. So, and then also we've done a lot of spirit days around Thanksgiving. We had some different days for dress up and Halloween and things like that. And so we've done a can drive collection for our place. And that was dropped off by Bill Scarlett and Nurse Jen. So I appreciate their help in getting the goods to the people who might need it. We also had one that just the other day for Thanksgiving, actually, and we had a crazy hat day. And so that was also to gather hats and gloves. And we also shout out to the Elks Club for their coat donation. We have many students that receive coats, gloves, hats, and, boots, things like that they needed for the upcoming cool weather. So we really appreciate the support from the community on that. As people have mentioned today, it was parent-teacher conferences. They've been going very well. And staff have connected with families and getting progress updates and hearing concerns too. I've already gotten some parents reflecting back on what things that they like to see happening. As mentioned before, you can always email me. I appreciate people doing that. And going through teachers as well. And they've messaged about things that they want to see happening. So we'll take those into consideration. Today we had a PD day for a specialist, and I'm sure Ms. Hazard will give me more updates on that. We were able to work last Wednesday with the staff on going deeper with distance learning. We've heard families say that if we do go remote, whether it's snow days or remote Wednesdays, we want to work on our engagement. And as always, we're learning. And so the staff and I had a chance to learn some more tools and techniques to share. So hopefully you'll be seeing those coming up in the next remote days. And also we've heard from Jen Gurley at Rockingham Roasters. So they've asked CES to make ornaments for their holiday tree outside the store. So we're working with Mr. Palmisano and trying to get that happening during art class or sometime in school. So we'll definitely support our community that way. And we are finalizing all of our budgets for next year, for the fiscal year, and trying to keep in mind that there's really a level funded budget and just working with the parameters that we have. We did have 20 staff members that were tested for COVID on Friday. So they wait for the staff. Well, we don't get those necessarily. We will hear if anybody had tested positive and do contact tracing. And then within the last week or so, we've had 9 students that were out, 3 to travel that went outside of state of Vermont that are quarantining, and then 6 with illnesses that some are waiting for COVID testing and just others that are waiting for families to see whether it needs to warrant COVID testing and things too. So that's pretty much our updates for Central. And there's my dog. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Any questions for Ms. Kennedy? Comments, questions? Priscilla, go ahead.
Carrie, your kindergarten and first graders have been back since November 2nd, which is what, 3 weeks?
Yes.
Or they were back longer than that. How many weeks have your kids each have been back in school?
The kindergartners came back on October 26th, I believe it was.
So that's
a few weeks now.
3. That's 4 weeks they've been in school?
Correct.
4 weeks that's kindergarten only.
Yes, and then first and second grade came back on the 2nd.
So that's 3 weeks.
Correct, and third and fourth came back on the 9th.
So they've only been back 2 weeks.
Correct.
Thanks.
Sure.
Any other questions, comments, Ms. Kennedy, from Ms. Kennedy? From board members? Ms. Hazard, I see you turned your camera on. You're up next.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so our student council sponsored a Spirit Week last week, and we had lots of fun. It ended with a PJ Day, complete with popcorn donated by the Bellows Falls Opera House. And so big shout out to them and to all that made the week special. The Lions Club has come and gone and provided vision screenings for all students, which is amazing work that they do. And our Nurse Jen, will be sending out those reports to families. Last Wednesday, Carrie hinted at it, but principals and all teachers participated in a full day of distance learning playbook, going deeper. Dr. Carey was able to provide funds to make that happen. The PD focused on student engagement and getting students to drive their own learning. Together, we learned new technology tools and strategies to support this high level of engagement. And our remote plan will include this new learning and must look different than when we were in dismissal in order to move new learning forward. And it will include both synchronous and asynchronous learning. Of course, we will continue to be sensitive to the needs of our students and families as we move toward implementing this new format. Today, some amazing things took place, not only parent-teacher conferences, primarily via Zoom, some were phone calls and some Google Meet. But we were able to do a PD for our specialists, and they really had an opportunity to collaborate with each other and really dig into the PD that took place last Wednesday. So they met with their colleagues, all the PE teachers met together, all the art teachers, music teachers, etc. Shared current practices, learned from each other, and then explored some of the new technology tools that were shared last Wednesday. We had extremely positive feedback from staff who were appreciative of the time to collaborate and to continue to explore technology. Let's see, tomorrow we will all engage classroom teachers, interventionists, and principals in Fountas and Pinnell Classroom guided reading, and the specialists will continue working together to create an action plan given their work today. Let's see. Our attendance data for the last 2 weeks, we had 91% of our students in attendance from 11:09 to 11:20. Number of staff tested on Friday were 17. And we've been really busy preparing for both scenarios, in person and remote, especially given our new professional learning. And just making sure that we are moving learning forward rather than in that emergency teaching mode. And lastly, I would just like to say that given that we are in the middle of a pandemic, and I'll emphasize a pandemic, and given guidance from our school nurses, that I personally, as administrator, encourage the board to decide to go remote for a week following Thanksgiving and December breaks. 4 days of remote learning is a small compromise in order to protect our staff and students. So thank you, and I will take any questions you may have.
Any questions for Ms. Hazard? Priscilla?
Again, yours have been back, some of yours have been back longer than Central. Can you tell me which ones were back? Kindergarten through 2, right?
K2 started, end of, when was it? October. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look. It's been a while that they've been back, and our 3-4 came on November 2nd.
Yeah, I think you started a week sooner, so 1, 2.
Yes, we did.
So that would be maybe 5 weeks for your K2, and you said your 3-4 started
November 2nd.
So that'd be 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks, Kip. Thanks, Laura.
Sure.
Jason Terry, go ahead.
Hi, Ms. Hazard. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, thanks. I just wanted to say thank you for all you're doing with the Saxons River, and I appreciate everything you're doing. And Ms. Kennedy, I forgot I didn't get it in time. I just want to say thank you as well. I know you guys are doing a great job at both of your schools and really appreciate your efforts. So thank you for all you're doing. I sincerely mean that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board members for Ms. Hazard? Thank you, Ms. Hazard. Ms. Pikowski.
Sure. All right. Good evening. I would like to start my report by making a statement. And that statement is that I sense that there may be a misunderstanding between the Rockingham School Board and myself with regard to full in-person instruction of all students. I would like nothing better than to have all my students in attendance for full in-person instruction, as long as it can be done safely and within the guidelines set forth by the AOE and the Vermont Department of Health. I believe I'm speaking for myself and the teachers and staff of BFMS when I say we truly miss the energy and excitement that comes from having all of our students in attendance. Therefore, I would like to make the Rockingham School Board aware that we are exploring ways to make this possible while adhering to the guidelines set forth by the Agency of Education and the Department of Public Health. To start, we welcomed back all of our 5th grade students for full in-person instruction on Monday, November 2nd. We will be welcoming back all of our 6th grade students for full in-person instruction on Monday, November 30th or December 7th, depending on the school board vote this evening. We've established criteria for increasing the return of 7th and 8th grade students who are struggling in engaging in virtual or remote learning. Bellows Falls Middle School is exploring 2 possibilities for bringing all 7th and 8th grade students back. The first is using an alternative site that is not part of the BFMS school building, and the other is rearranging at least 2 instructional areas within the school. A subcommittee has been created for exploring sites that are not part of the building. The subcommittee's first meeting was held on Wednesday, November 18th, and I provided Superintendent Pratt with a written report from this meeting. Additionally, we're working on developing a plan that would allow 7th and 8th grade students to receive 3 days of in-person instruction at BFMS while still adhering to the social distancing guidelines. I'm simply stating this so you know that we are considering multiple options to increase the number of students that we have for in-person instruction. Moving on, tomorrow is an in-service day and is day structured to provide BFMS teachers with the opportunity to share instructional strategies that they use in remote and virtual learning. They'll be spending time in groups developing a collaborative presentation of instructional tools and strategies that will be shared and posted in a document so that everyone can use it and reference it. As was mentioned, today was parent-teacher conferences. I'll have a more detailed report to share on those at an upcoming school board meeting because I think some of them just concluded within the last 35 minutes. We also are working with the coats for children, as was mentioned by Ms. Hazard. And overall, I just want to reiterate that I believe the teachers and staff of BFMS have been doing a fabulous job. 30 of them were tested on Friday, and our ADA has been down. Our average daily attendance or meeting has been down a little bit over the past 2 weeks because we have had an increased number of students that were sent home for either, possibly displaying COVID-like symptoms or quarantining. That is my report. Any questions?
Ms. Pikowski, that was a great report. Thank you. Anybody else have anything for Ms. Pikowski? Priscilla, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you, Karen, so much for sharing the options that you're looking at. I knew you were looking out there and working on some, but having you share them with all of us is more than what I even knew about. So that was a great thing, and I really appreciate that. So your fifth graders have been back 3 weeks, which is nice. And I know you're looking at the others, and I know every teacher in every one of your schools wants their children. They'd love them to be there all 5 days. And I think we as a board are recognizing that, just like you are recognizing that we want them there as well, because we know that you guys do such a fantastic job in teaching them and getting them to learn. And it's important that our children grow up with a good education. And I think Rockingham has been paramount in being able to give that to our students over the years. I know when I taught at the high school level, I saw a lot of children that came up through the schools, and I was really pleased to know that they had been in our schools and the kind of education that they were getting. So thank you so very much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Priscilla, in response to that, I can tell you all that I have a fifth grader, and wonderful is an understatement. So thank you. Any other questions, comments for Ms. Bukowski? I don't see anybody. So business office. Flora, I suppose, if you're out here. I didn't see your name, but there's about a lot of pages here. So Flora, if you're out there, or Chris, or anybody.
Yeah, I am here. I'm sorry. I was just trying to unmute.
There you go. Floor's yours.
So currently we just working on the budget, trying to get everything ready for the auditors. They were supposed to come in tomorrow, but due to the travels because of COVID and the area that they come, they decided that they'll let us know if they're gonna come in at all. But right now we have scanned everything for them, so that way they get everything removed from us. Those documents that we can't scan because of the bulk and the amount of it, they will let us know when they could review them. Other than that, we're pretty much working as a team. Everything is set. So we're just waiting on news from the auditors as to how they're gonna address this whole COVID situation and visiting our office.
Thank you, Flora. Any questions, comments? Mrs. Lambert.
Sorry, every time I try to hit the mute button, I hit the video button. So I keep flashing on and off. Flora, I am still hearing kind of chatter about there still being trouble with benefits and with payroll. So if you can kind of keep that in the back of your mind and be working on that to maybe be helping staff and everybody out with that, I'd appreciate it.
Benefits, we did have open enrollment. So there was a couple of changes with that. It was a short window, so I guess that could be on one of the issues that people might mention. As payroll, I'm not sure which issue could be. Most likely anything that has come up with payroll, we always have resolved that at the moment. We are actually doing payroll ahead of time. Payroll is due on a Friday morning, and we've been submitting payroll Thursday morning. So I actually would like to know which one is the concern with payroll, because we've been doing really good with it. You know, whatever we have found, we always resolve this. So everybody's been getting paid even ahead of what it's supposed to be.
I haven't any specific names, Flora. I just have heard chatter about it. So I just was bringing it up just to make sure you were aware and that you could deal with that, you know, because this is my opportunity to bring it up to you.
No, yes, but no, definitely I'm not aware of any issues actually with payroll. Like I said, you know, we've been doing really good with payroll. It's been even done ahead of what people usually have expected. You know, always payroll was delayed. And now the latest we've been posting payroll is a Thursday by 5, people have it in their bank accounts, if not Thursday morning. So,
And if they've got an issue, they should be contacting you, I would assume anyway. So
yes.
you will hear about it and then have an opportunity to take care of it as well, I'm sure.
As well, Jason is new, but he's been doing amazing. And like I said, if anything, that is any issues with anything about payroll, they should let us know immediately. It's a learning thing for him as well. But at least the fact that people getting paid on time and their adjustments is been fixed. As for benefits, like I said, I'm not aware of any issues with the benefits currently, other than, people were not too happy about the short window that they have with open enrollment. But that has nothing to do with our office. It's what it was given to us. But Joellen worked really hard overtime trying to help everybody and taking messages and calls and everything.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments for Flora?
Thank you, George.
Jason, go ahead.
Just wanted to, Flora, again, say thank you. I know there's a lot of new people here tonight, but you've been with the school now for still a short time.
90 days.
Wow, congratulations. So
Thank you.
a couple of weeks ago, I was able to spend an hour or so with Flora and, going over all of the warrants, I guess you would call them, that need to be signed, or all of the stuff that was paid, and everything was organized and, ready to go. And there was a stack of papers, yay thick of payments that were being paid. And so that takes a lot of work. And, you have to be very detail orientated in order to do that work. And, I appreciate how responsive you are when I send you an email, or anybody sends you an email, we get a response. I appreciate the fact that you answer the phone when we call you. And, you have a great set of fresh eyes that I think the school district really needs, and I think the town really needs. So just wanted to say thanks, and I keep that up. Okay. Don't lose that. Thank you.
Thank you. Like I said, I'm always open for anybody to call, emails. Right now, we just don't want anybody in the office. Like I said, every employee in our office is essential. We are not overstaffed. We are essential, all of us. So that's right. Right now, we just allow our employees. We got COVID tested just to have a safe environment for us, because we are all essential. But anything that anybody needs, they can always give us a call. And I always try my best, to resolve everything on the same day or the next day as fast as we can. And if anybody had any issues with their benefits or anything with payroll, they can always give me a call, and I will try my best to just help whoever it is.
Thank you, Flora. Any
Thank you.
any other questions or comments for Flora? Very good. Thank you, ma'am. WNESU board, grabbing the agenda here, but I don't think I really need to, because the bulk of it was a big subject matter tonight, whether we're going to be taking, supporting the nurses' request. And that was it. Most people were there. So there was a vote. I think it was it 4-3, I think was the vote. Anybody can jump in and correct me. But then come to find out, it is, after consulting with legal, that it's up to the individual boards to make that decision. A wrench in that is that the support staff in paras, they are paid by the SU, and full-time teachers are paid by Rockingham. So that is of concern to me slightly, but that's as an update from the WNESU board meeting. That's kind of where it's left off. If anybody else has any additional updates to that meeting that are pertinent to tonight, feel free to jump in and and say something, but I think that's kind of the bulk of it. Okay, new business for discussion action, if any. Vote for 1 week of remote learning following Thanksgiving and winter breaks. Chris, I don't know.
George?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we vote on 1 week of remote learning following Thanksgiving. And that's it.
Okay, well, there's
Can
a
I
motion.
speak to that motion? And I think if you go back, I thought about that a lot before the meeting, but also Jack Breyer suggested that as well in his other. That would give us an opportunity, if it's passed, that gives an opportunity for you to look at the time and what it does for other than that. We've had a group of people who want a variety of different situations, and we're trying to educate children. We want to satisfy the teachers and the parents who feel it's crucial to provide in-person instruction. We also want to provide for those parents and staff who are afraid of the illness, and for children who've just started getting 4 to 5 weeks possibly of educational instruction that will be hurt if they go remote. They've already missed a lot. This will have emotional side effects for those children. And the back and forth situation is pointed out in some of our communications. Parents relying on children being in school to be educated and so they can work will face obstacles. Transmission from students to others in school has not happened, but I understand the fear that's out there. So children and families who violated the order and traveled have to quarantine, so there should not be a spread in the school. We aren't guaranteed that parents will follow the things as the nurses are concerned about and worried about. They haven't been necessarily following them at this point, and we haven't seen the side effects in the school. Granted, there's more COVID out there than there has been in the past, although the last 3 days have been lower in Vermont than the 2 days prior to that, almost down to half as much as the 2 days prior, which hopefully we're going in the right direction following that ice hockey event and the Halloween parties and the Rutland outbreak over at the long-term care. I listened to Tim Clark at the high school say his students needed in person, and know at least 75 of their students were brought back because they were struggling. They are also older, and primary do not learn as well, and some do not do as well during the remote. Their K through 4 are really, really crucial to have in school. And if anybody else was thinking about it, maybe they want to break it even down to it only being the K through 4 that are in person next week rather than going remote, or, however you want to do it. But that would be that's why I made the motion, so that we could possibly try it out for 1 week if people feel that we need to go that way. I hate to satisfy just those few people, though, that, are putting our schools at risk. They are the people, not the board, that are putting the people at risk if children are in school. The person that decides to travel and decides to ignore the orders from the governor, those are the ones that are putting kids at risk. And it's too bad, because it would be nice if we could rely on everybody to follow that and everybody to do what's necessary to keep our kids in school. Thanks.
Priscilla, I'm smiling because somebody warned me about you a long time ago, how quick you are. Well, there's a motion on the floor, and if I'm understanding it correctly, it is to approve the week off after Thanksgiving only at this point. Is that correct, Priscilla?
Yes.
George, it's not a week off, it's remote.
I'm sorry, yes.
It's
Thank
remote.
you. Thank you for the correction.
So remote.
That's
I think I said remote, but I may not have.
my bad. That makes a big difference, and I appreciate the correction. Any discussion? I had a lot to say prior to that, but you kind of, you're quick.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Jason Terry.
I would like to I would like to vote on the 2 and not entertain this motion.
I don't think that that's how we can do it. Somebody smarter than me could tell me otherwise, but there's a motion on the floor. So I think it's discussion and vote on that motion, unless it's talked about.
Don't we need a second first, George? Aren't we missing a second?
I always thought so, but I keep being told that no, because we're a small board. So I think at this point it's open for discussion. So if anybody would like.
And if we vote down Priscilla's motion, we're still going to do the original vote on the 2 weeks, correct?
I think at that point, and somebody again could correct
Not
me.
unless you make a
Hang
motion.
on. Let me finish first. Correct me if I'm wrong when I'm finished, but if that's when that one's voted down and another motion was made, I believe that we would have discussion at that point. At this point, this motion is made. There could be amendments to this motion as we go. But at this point, this is the motion made. So
George, can I
please.
Statement I got from our legal, just to bring everyone up to speed where we are in regards to SU and student services?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So this is what I got from Pietro Lynn, our legal, when I posed the question to him. He said it will be extremely difficult for the district to satisfy special education legal requirements if students are at school, but special educators and paraeducators whose job it is to implement special education plans are at home. Since the special education employees are supervisory union employees, it is likely they will not be reporting to work during the time that the supervisory union voted to go to school work. So that was just the quick version of what our legal counsel had told us when asked the question about majority districts, the SU voting to go remote, and if another district decides not to. So I don't have much more than that, but that's the legal opinion.
Thanks, Chris. Priscilla, go ahead.
Yes, but as we discussed at the high school board meeting, the WNSU board would probably be called in, and we would probably discuss that, because if the special educators don't support the IEPs at a school, that would be violation of their IEPs. And so they, as David Clark had said at that meeting, they would call them in and do that again. And if we find if this is voted, that they find it works for the 1 week and people do vote that for the 1 week, we can always at our next meeting or the meeting after that have plenty of time to decide if we want to do the other week, and support it. But this way, if things change in Vermont, we also have the time frame of not having had to already voted that, because possibly what happens if, as they're predicting, the vaccines come out on December 10th through 12th, right in that time frame, and the medical personnel who are the first ones to get it are all getting that, and it's cutting down the numbers of COVID. And even say we go back down to the, levels of around 10 in the state per week, we certainly probably may not need that. And if we're seeing that it doesn't impact our students next week, why would we want to close for another week, go to remote? The ideas.
Thanks, Priscilla. Any comments? I mean, I know I have plenty of comments. I wrote a bunch down that I probably can't even read, but any other before I go? Jason Benson, go ahead.
Here's my concern with Priscilla's proposal. Okay, right now, if we go with the overall consensus and we do vote in favor of the 2 weeks, at least that way parents have the opportunity to plan ahead for what's coming down the road. Next week, yeah, that's crunch time for everybody, certainly. But if we give parents the warning ahead of time that, okay, this is happening this week, but it's also going to happen after the winter break as well, then they at least have the opportunity to look ahead and get ready for it. That's all.
Thanks, Jason. Anybody else? Any other board members? Megan, I see you unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, darn you, Jason Benson, for taking my slam dunk, if there's such a thing. I'll be honest, guys. Anybody remember last year when we had kids on the corner at the bus stops because school days got called at 5:55? I mean, I don't want to continue this trend where we put parents in a bad position to begin with, and then we compound it with, well, we'll talk about it the week before in December to see where we're at. It's hard enough. I know it's going to be hard enough for parents to mitigate, some parents mitigating what we're proposing, but to put off another vote just seems like we really just don't want to give working parents a chance. We really just want to toss it all at them and see how well they can juggle on the fly. And I'm really uncomfortable with that.
Thank you, Megan. Jason, Terry, go ahead.
I agree. I think, part of the problem has been with with parents in general is it's the poor planning of all this. So I'm ready to get on to the next play, so to speak. And, I want to plan for the next one as well.
So what we have is a motion to take the next week off after Thanksgiving break only. It sounds to me like I'm getting a sense that we want to maybe amend that motion to include possibly the week after Christmas break, winter break, I'm sorry, Christmas break. But I'm having a thought that I've got some communication from parents that, maybe being that it's a Thursday, Friday, it could be strategized a little better. So maybe we go to school Monday, Tuesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then add those days to the end to actually support the quarantine period. Any thoughts behind that strategy or any comments at all? Any Jason Benson, go ahead.
The one thing I do wonder about is where they came up with I'll say just for a rough figure, 7 days, because to the best of my knowledge, the incubation period is anywhere between 2 and 14 if symptoms are to show up. Obviously, they're sometimes asymptomatic, as has been stated over and over. But is 7 days long enough? Is 1 week long enough? I guess that would be a question for the medical professionals that are present tonight. But
yeah, I'll defer to Chris, and at that point he could defer to anyone else. But that's a question that I've heard from folks as well.
I don't mind if any of the nurses want to speak up, but I think this, it adds to the days because we don't have any kids in this week at all because these Monday and Tuesday of this week, kids are out. So it's professional learning. So then, and because of the holiday season, so it adds a week, but I think it's just, like we said, it's a compromise. We're not saying that, we're going to put the 2 weeks in place because we got to cover all the incubation period. What it's doing, it's just giving us the time to, if people are starting to show any kind of symptoms, that we're not finding out about it when they're at the front door. And it gives everyone just a little longer to plan and be ready. Maybe there won't be any, but it's just that extra caution that we're taking. So, I think a week was a good compromise in regards to trying to give us time to figure it out. And if people are starting to show symptoms, that we have that time the week after that maybe they'll get tested. Like I said, we just don't want it to show up at the school and we're finding out at the school when people could already be exposed. But I see Jen Burke one of the nurses has came on. So, she might want more to add to that.
All I was going to say, Mr. Pratt, was that for Jason Benson, the reason we came up with the 7 days is ideally, you're right. Most people would have to quarantine for 14 days if they have traveled, or for kids that actually don't test after they've been sick, like with cold symptoms, they'll and the parents choose not to test them. It's up to like 10 days. So for those that have traveled, you can test after 7 days if you have quarantined for 7 days. And so that was our thought with the 7 days. Obviously, we were thinking 4 school days. Hopefully, if anyone does go away, they're back right after on this Thanksgiving weekend. Have that remote week to quarantine and hopefully get a test over that weekend before returning to school. So that was where the 7-day period came in. We weren't thinking 7 school days per se. Hopefully, it might take somebody a little longer than 7 days if they test on like Sunday or Monday morning of returning week, after quarantine. But that was our thought process in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nurse Burke. I'm going to jump in here because I've got some things to say that I was going to say first, but somebody beat me to it. We all know the state. They're pushing in school in person. We know the mandates that I believe are in an effort to allow kids to be in school in person. And we're trying to listen to everybody, and we're not going to make everybody happy. And I'd ask everybody to exercise some empathy, and in both sides, board, parents, staff, everybody, and try to be understanding of what other people's opinions or viewpoints are, and just be respectful. After the last board meeting, after it resonating a little bit, I'm brought back to Nurse Burke's numbers that she offered up, and it was kind of staggering. That's a lot of people traveling, a lot of kids traveling. They're not supposed to. And, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now if more people followed the rules. And I just want to remind everybody that when you don't follow the rules, it affects the entire district. It doesn't just affect your family or even your kid's class or anybody who goes in that building and who's related to people in that building. It affects the entire district. And we wouldn't be having this conversation if those numbers were smaller. So I just wanted to say that. And then the other thing that kind of stuck with me was Nurse Hodgson's, what she said at the SU meeting about how the state is running out of resources. So the contact tracing is being put back on schools. I don't know, but I imagine that's a pretty hefty task and some pretty uncomfortable conversations. And, God forbid one of our nurses have to stay home for a day. Anyway, after a lot of reflection there, I don't feel like I really, have a choice but to support it. And I would support a version of it. I don't mind the idea of thinking about December. But at the same time, I agree with Jason Benson's viewpoint that parents need to plan. And, that's kind of what I got. Now, I also got to say that one more thing that's really bothersome is that we've gotten emails as board members from teachers who are reluctant to speak out, who may view differently, and it doesn't even really matter what their viewpoint is or what my viewpoint is or anybody's viewpoint is. They're reluctant to speak out because they don't want the backlash. They don't want blackball. So I don't know. Maybe that's something that Chris, maybe you and I should have a discussion about. But that's a problem when your people don't want to speak out because they're, worried about something. That's huge. And anyway, all that said, I'll revert back to the board for more comment and discussion. But personal inclination is to abide by, to go along with some version of the nurse's request. So Jason, Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, Priscilla beat me to the point too, George. So I wrote down some bullet points, and I want to, try to get these out as clear as possible. First and foremost, thank you to the nurse staff for all you do. You have an incredibly difficult job, and I certainly understand that. You come to work each day and give 100%. You do an admirable job adapting to each situation thrown your way. I too have received equal amounts of emails and notes from public and people who work at the schools. They have been equally for and against the week of remote. I am very concerned for the individuals who speak up, who work at the schools. Many of the boards are split on this decision, as you've seen. The question I have is why? Why are nurses going against fellow experts who work at the state? Anybody who has been following these board meetings knows that every time any board member asks about the opening of schools or extracurriculars, we have been told over and over that they're going to follow the guidance of the state. So again, my question is why? Why is it that kids can go to tech for 4 days a week since the beginning of school, where many schools are lumped into one class and kids then go back to their home school? Kids are safer in school. A board member, Melissa at the Grafton board, you said it very well last week. Kids are better off with structured environment that the staff has worked hard to provide. I am very concerned about the kids are in remote, especially K through 8, because they are not getting the instruction they need. I do believe in COVID, but I also believe that there are other even longer term effects. This is an awful virus. It will do damage to generations to come. Finally, many believed COVID would be worse in the winter. Many feel COVID combined with the flu would be bad because they are similar. Why was this not planned better in the fall? If we knew this was going to happen, why didn't administration plan a better calendar? We have some other holidays coming up very soon as well. We have winter break, we have spring break. What will be the plan then? Are we going to wait last minute and send the board an email with just a few days to decide? So, with all that said, I am encouraging this board to vote yes and go remote for 7 days asked, with the caveat that it is only 7 days because kids are safer in schools. Better planning must be a priority going forward. I would like to support the nurse's decision for 7 days. So, thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Priscilla, go ahead.
My motion did not include only. It was just, it does say this 7 days, this 4 days, this 1 week, but it didn't say only. If this week works out, if we vote this for remote and this week works out, we will have the information. We can have the information from the nurses to see what the impact is on next week, and we can do that. We will have another board meeting, I would assume, on December 7th. And so, this would give us a chance. It would give us more data. It would give us more information. Thanks.
Megan, go ahead.
I'm just curious, who's going to set the parameters and let us know if this 7 or this 4 days works out? And given this board's history, are we going to believe them this time? Because to me, it feels like we don't tend to believe our experts, even when we allow them to set parameters.
It's a great question, Megan. I think that was more of a statement than a question. So I want to understand what we have for a motion right now. And Priscilla, it sounds to me like you want to make a motion to approve the week following Thanksgiving, period. Is that
right?
Now, is there before we get to a vote, I think there's still some uncertainty here or some undecisiveness. I want to give everybody a chance, but going back in line with what Jason Benson said about families planning, is there some way that we could word something or do something? So I don't want it to get to be, December break and we got to get together again and hustle up a vote to do something. Is there I see your hand, Jason, I'll give it to you. Is there some way, maybe, is there an amendment to this motion that could satisfy? Hang on.
We have two.
Hang on.
We have 2 meetings.
Is there? Yes, but people need to plan. Is my point? So hang on before you interrupt again. Is there a way that we can satisfy both what you're saying and also allow parents to have an understanding for planning? Is there a way that we can satisfy both? Jason, Terry, you had your hand up. I'll concede to you.
Can't we just amend? Could we just, I'm not sure. Can we just amend Priscilla's motion to include the week after Christmas? Like the original dates? I don't know what they are at this point. Chris Pratt probably has them.
I think we could, but I don't know that it doesn't have to be. Do we have to vote on the amendment? I think that's how it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Jason Benson, go ahead before anything happens.
My thought here is maybe we just quash this motion altogether and possibly look at an amendment for 9A, the actual vote itself as written by the nurses, and include in that the possibility of looking after the winter break or before the winter break and see how our numbers are, and maybe bringing kids back in that week if the numbers allow. Or we just vote as everybody else had in order to give everybody the opportunity to plan and do what they have to do. Because we're just making it too muddy right now.
Yeah, and I actually agree with you. But as far as following protocol, we do have a motion on the floor, and so it's either amend that motion or vote it down and vote something new. So
Let's call the vote. Let's call the vote, George.
Well, there's obviously still some.
I called the vote.
Well, that's great. Priscilla called.
You have to vote. You can't do any more discussion.
So the motion is currently.
You have to vote on the call. You have to vote on the call.
Who are you talking to?
You have to vote on the call.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So the motion is what? Would you repeat it again?
The motion is that we follow the recommendations to go remote for the week after Thanksgiving.
There's the motion.
Can I make a point of order?
I don't know. I don't even know what's legal anymore, Mr. Hodson, but
Sure.
I don't think that's.
So-
I don't know that that's appropriate, but somebody could tell me I would love to hear it, but I don't know that that's the legal way of things. So if somebody could tell me otherwise, please do.
So
It's not appropriate. He's a community member.
Okay.
Sorry, Chris.
All right. Well, we are where we're at, and it's roll call time. So do we accept the motion as presented? Megan, go ahead.
Who made the second?
We don't need a second.
Small board. We don't
Small
need
board.
No, I vote no to Priscilla's motion.
Jason Benson.
No.
Jason Terry.
No.
That's 3, and then nope, that takes it then. So no takes it.
Hey, George,
Yeah.
could I make a motion to accept the recommendation of the WNESU school nurses to go remote?
Hey, point of order, you need to take my vote.
The vote did not pass 3-2.
Yes, but you still have to take my vote. I get to vote.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Priscilla, vote.
Okay, I would vote yes
Okay, so
for the remote.
that's
Yeah.
3 no's and 1 yes, and I don't need to vote. Is that That seems to be appropriate. So, Megan, go ahead.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we accept the WNESU nurses' recommendation to go remote the week following Thanksgiving break and the week following the Christmas break.
Discussion. Jason Benson, go ahead.
Yeah, did Mr. Hodson have something he wanted to add here, or is he all set now? And I also see Jack's iPad still has his hand up.
Can't either. They're not board members, Jake.
Priscilla.
George.
Hang on. Problem is this is board discussion, and as much as we would love to take their comment at this time, it's just not appropriate to do so. And as much as I would love to hear it. So we have a motion to accept the as proposed. Any discussion, amendments, anything so that we can move through this? I again am of the feeling that maybe we could utilize days prior to the winter break and add them onto the end to help with length of quarantine or whatnot. But at this point I've about had enough. So anybody comments and more discussion? Jason Benson.
I think the only amendment we need to make here is just keep it in alignment with the rest of the school districts in this union. Because when we start straying too far away, it creates a massive logistical problem for everybody involved. And we need to work together and understand that this is a horrible pandemic we're all going through right now. And we just need to get through it and not make it more difficult than we need to. I mean, I understand that it's difficult on some families that have childcare issues and so on and so forth, but it probably the best approach here is just let's go with Megan's motion.
Last chance for discussion / amendments. One more time, Priscilla, go ahead.
And my concern, like I said, is the fact that it could be very, very different by the time we get to January. And by voting the 2 weeks at this time, we are binding ourselves to, having to do that. Whereas if and whether it worked next week, we would still have the chance at the next board meeting, which is the week after that one, the 1 week after Thanksgiving, to be able to decide on the additional. It just does not seem like it's necessarily the right thing to do for especially our K-4 students. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Thanks, Priscilla. Jason Terry, go ahead. Last round of comments.
Thank you. Priscilla, the only thing with that for me is that we'd be right back in square one with, disagreeing to disagree with, nurses who I also think are experts. And we'd be right back here again. And I want the parents to be able to plan a little bit. And I just want to reiterate what I said. All this could have been avoided if it was planned out in September. Everyone knows that people travel during the holidays, whether they're supposed to or not. So, we got to plan also the other breaks that are coming up if it's still going to be an issue down the road. So, thank you.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity to be looking ahead and think about that. Any other comments? This is my last round of comments before we go to a vote. I'm seeing nothing. So in order on my screen, we will vote to accept the 1 week after Thanksgiving break and 1 week after winter break as proposed by our nurses. Is that correct? All right, roll call. Megan, go ahead.
Yes.
Mr. Benson,
Yes.
where are you? Priscilla,
No.
Mr. Terry.
Yes.
Motion passes. Parents, you can plan accordingly. Apologies to all of those who it's an inconvenience. Hope you understand what a difficult decision and conversation this was. Moving on. Oh, where are we? 9, unfinished business for discussion, ongoing discussion, moving from steps 2 to 3. Progress, obstacles, next steps. Chris, where are we at? What's happening?
Well, I think, we heard from I think the big push was from the report that Mrs. Bukowski gave at the middle school. And we continued knowing that they are continuing to work on getting the 7th and 8th graders back. So I think, that's the final step for us, is getting the 7th and 8th graders back. And it seems like Mrs. Bukowski and the teachers in the administration are really doing everything they can to make that happen. I think that was the biggest, that was the issue when we put this on the agenda, is we wanted to make sure that didn't fall by the wayside, and that there's a plan to get them back. And we heard that plan tonight. So that's where, that's my take on it right now.
Okay, any questions, comments? Mr. Pratt on that? I see you wanting to raise your hand, Jason. Go ahead. No? Okay. No, I actually really appreciated Ms. Bukowski's report, and that's, we know there's issues at Central as well with getting teachers and whatnot. Is there any movement there, Chris, with any teachers?
So you cut out for a second. What was that?
Any movement on the teachers for an additional teacher for Central?
Lynn, go ahead, Lynn.
Thank you. Principal Carrie Kennedy and I worked on finding a teacher, and it's really difficult. We put out some feelers at Keene State, at the Meadow School, which is closing, and it has not been fruitful. However, we were able to hire a good substitute that will be able to take over a classroom for the near future. Hopefully after December, there'll be some newly ordained teachers that might be looking for a job. And we are excited to have this person. We actually need to have her approved, but I don't know if we've gotten there on the agenda yet. But her name is Samantha Saunders. So she will be we're hiring her as a kind of a building substitute to help ease that burden of and I think Carrie can tell us, I think that there's 35 third graders.
30
third graders. So there'll be 2 classes of 15, 4 days a week. And the current third grade teacher will be actually creating the plans and doing the, guiding the teaching. And so we're kind of excited with the different help that we'll have in there, that we will be able to have these children back and give them back 4 days a week of in-school teaching. So, and I'm not sure, I think Carrie needs to help me about the 4th grade. Where are we? There's 20 in the 4th grade now, but there's not a big enough room, right?
So they're in the room, there's 21. What we've compromised with was lunch in the cafeteria, because that was the biggest part, was when they were unmasked. So they are the only class that is able to eat in the cafeteria, because that's all we can fit, is just the one class of students, not like grade levels. So yes, but we did advertise. Kate came back to me from Keene State today saying she has put it back out there to see if any teachers who are just graduating in December, they have a cohort of students. So she's hoping to reach some of them, and maybe we can have a candidate come forward.
Awesome, thanks. And again, Ms. Bukowski's report was fantastic. Thank you very much for that. And Ms. Hazard, they're fully in school. So thank you guys very much. Where are we? Moving on. Appointments, resignations. I think we don't have any. Chris, talk to me.
No, we do not. And Lynn?
I'm not sure if, because she's being hired as a substitute, I'm not sure that she needs to come to the board, but I'd like to inform you that we have hired. She's an employee. She'll be a substitute / para. She'll be working after we find the teacher that will take the place in the 3rd grade. She'll still be engaged in the school building, Central School, and her name is Samantha Saunders, and she lives in Westminster. She has children in the Westminster School, so we're really pleased to welcome her.
Thank you, Lynn. Jason Terry, I think I might have jumped the gun, so go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, we missed executive session, and we also we missed executive session number 7. So there's some important stuff we got to go over.
I'm sorry, I don't have a paper copy, so I'm getting all messed up.
At 10A, after Mr. Pratt went over the progress, we went right to 11 appointments. So.
You know why? Because I'm looking at the wrong agenda.
Now we got to revote.
Good board chair. Okay. Executive session, that would take place after we're done. So I think we're at director's comments. I'm sorry for my negligence. We're at director's comments as far as I can see. Who'd like to go first? Jason Benson, go ahead.
Thanks, George. Thanks for being our fearless leader throughout all this.
Not fearless.
I just hope that everybody can come to terms with everything that transpired here before and up till now. And Megan, I'm sorry if I stole your thunder tonight. Didn't mean to, but it happens. George, same for you. But I think we're all working in the right direction, and as long as we keep working together with everybody else involved and come to logical decisions based on facts, we will do pretty well. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Who's up next? Priscilla, go ahead. Any director's comments? Priscilla?
Am I muted or am I on?
You're good.
I think I've said a lot.
You say
I'm just, I just want to keep in mind that the board and the staff and the nurses and the administration are all concerned about our students. And they are our biggest priority in anything that we do. So as long as we keep that in mind, we'll be fine.
Thank you, Priscilla. Jason Terry, go ahead.
I appreciate some of the folks coming forward and standing up for themselves. And this is the second meeting where it feels overwhelming, where it's one way. And I made my decision a few days ago how I was going to vote, regardless of the hate emails I was getting or the complimentary emails I was getting. I do believe that I will always do what's best for the kids. End of story.
Thank you, Jason. Who's next? Megan.
So I appreciate everything I heard tonight, and I feel like in a lot of ways there are no good choices out there for us, right? We're mitigating bad choices and bad choices. But as hurtful as comments may seem that speak about the board across social media, I would really encourage us as a board to get a pretty good temperature check on the staff members inside our district. And I think from what I've heard, we're going to find a good amount of dismay and to be honest, a lot of frustration in spades and a sense of horror at like the audacity of this board sometimes. And we can connect the dots because what comes next is we're going to have to deal with an exodus from our district of really talented people who just want nothing to do with working for a board that acts the way this board has this year. That just this power struggle with who really gets to make decisions and just ignoring advice from our principals and our health experts. You know, they're going to look for less chaotic, less toxic, less destructive places to work. And I promise you they're going to be hiring out there because teachers are leaving. In general, they're getting out of the business because it's dangerous. And if you don't feel like you're supported in your district, you're going to stick around. And that's a really hard pill to swallow because I've got kids waiting to get their shot to have Kate Kane in 4th grade and to have all their favorite teachers ahead of them. And we're going to lose them if we keep on this path. And I just really want us, I know snarky comments hurt, man, I have the thinnest skin, but I really encourage us to absorb it from a place without some ego and just, I would hate for us to be in a really bad position at the end of some contracts to lose really valuable professionals.
Thanks, Megan. I think I got everybody, so just me. Whoops, sorry. I'm not going to keep saying thank you because I mean it. I meant it several times. I appreciate you guys. You nurses are something else. And I wouldn't want to be in your shoes anymore than I want to be in my shoes right now. So thank you. And I'm just going to leave everybody with one last word. And again, it is empathy. Please think about other people's opinions and don't just write them off. Actually try to feel them. And, you know, it's uncomfortable stuff we're dealing with, but, you know, we're doing the best we can. Everybody's doing the best they can. So on that, that's all I got. I will entertain a motion at this point to go into an executive session. Somebody raise a hand.
So moved.
There you go. Executive session. We don't need to vote on that, do we, Priscilla?
No, we all approve.
Excellent.
But we should give us a couple minutes to walk around.
That'd be good. All those in executive session and let me see what. Okay, so yeah, Chris, if you could make sure everybody's exited and we'll be back in 3 minutes.
Yeah, working on it.